The envelope slid across the dinner table like a death sentence. Clean white paper, crisp edges, my name typed in bold letters. My father's expression remained granite solid as I picked it up with trembling fingers. I'm Vanessa, and this was the moment my family decided to teach me about adult responsibilities by charging me rent to live in my childhood bedroom. $1,200 per month, my father announced, as if reading off a grocery list. That includes utilities, internet, and your share of household expenses. Due on the 1st of each month. I stared at the itemized invoice, my chicken growing cold on the plate beside me. The numbers swam before my eyes. $800 base rent, $200 utilities, $200 household contribution. My brother Bailey didn't even look up from his phone, sprawled on the couch with a bag of chips balanced on his chest. But Bailey doesn't... I started. Bailey's situation is different, my mother cut in, her voice honey-sweet poison. He's still finding his path. You have 2 stable jobs, sweetie. It's time you learned financial responsibility. 2 stable jobs that barely left me time to sleep, let alone find my path. I worked as a bank teller during the day and waited tables 4 nights a week. My shoulders ached constantly. Dark circles had become a permanent feature under my eyes. When does this start? I asked, my voice smaller than I wanted it to be. 1st of the month, my father replied. That's next week. I trust you can manage that? The way he said it, not a question but a command. I nodded mechanically, already calculating the hours I'd need to pick up at the restaurant. And, Vanessa, my mother's perfectly manicured nails tapped the table. Late payments will incur a $50 fee, just like in the real world. I folded the invoice carefully and excused myself from the table. In my room, I pulled out my laptop to check my bank balance. That's when I saw it, the notification from my credit card company. The internet bill I'd been paying for months was linked to an account under Bailey's name. Curious, I dug deeper. Steam purchases, gaming subscriptions, monthly charges for some anime streaming service, all on the account I was paying for. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Don't forget to wash your dishes from dinner. We all need to contribute to keeping the house clean. I walked to my window and watched Bailey's car pull out of the driveway, probably heading to his friend's house for their weekly gaming session. He'd be back late, leaving his dishes in the sink for someone else to handle. The next morning I arrived early at the bank. My co-worker Joseph was already at his desk, sorting through paperwork. You look like you've seen a ghost, he said, sliding a coffee across to me. Worse, an invoice. I tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. My parents are charging me rent, $1,200 a month. Joseph whistled low. That's more than my mortgage payment. Yeah, well, apparently it's time I learnt about adult responsibilities. I pulled out my phone and showed him the Steam charges, while my brother gets a free ride and uses my credit card for gaming. That's messed up, Vanessa. Joseph's face darkened. You know that's not normal, right? I shrugged, but something inside me shifted. A tiny spark of rebellion, maybe, or recognition. That evening, I created a new email account and opened a high-yield savings account at a different bank. I photographed the invoice and saved it to a secure folder. Then I went downstairs and handed my father an envelope containing $1,200 in cash. Good girl, he said, not looking up from his newspaper. You're learning. Bailey shuffled past with a bowl of cereal, milk sloshing over the edges. Hey, can you spot me $20 for gas? I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time in months. My little brother, the golden child, perpetually broke, but somehow always gaming, always eating, always coasting. Sorry, I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice was. I'm on a pretty tight budget these days. My mother's head snapped up from her phone. Vanessa, don't be selfish. Family helps family. I felt something cold and hard crystallize in my chest. You're right, Mom. Family helps family. That night I lay in bed making calculations. 2 years. I could do this for 2 years. Every extra shift, every tip, every penny would go into that secret account. And then my phone lit up with a notification. Another Steam charge on my credit card. $59.99 for some new game Bailey couldn't wait to play. I smiled in the darkness. They wanted to teach me about adult responsibilities. Fine. I'd learn. I'd learn so well they'd never see it coming. 6 months into my adult responsibility program, I was missing lunch breaks to pick up extra shifts. My friend Naomi's birthday party came and went. I sent a text and worked a double instead. The savings account grew slowly, painfully, like watching paint dry in slow motion. "You're 2 days late," my father announced one evening, holding up my rent envelope. "That'll be $12.50. I looked up from my cold dinner. The first was Sunday. Banks were closed. "Doesn't matter," he tapped the invoice. "Late fee is late fee. It's how the real world works, Vanessa." I handed over the extra 50 without argument. What was the point? I'd learned that lesson months ago when I tried to negotiate. Now I just documented everything. Every payment, every late fee, every household contribution. In a spreadsheet that was becoming my silent revenge diary. Later that night I heard my mother's voice floating up from the kitchen. I crept to the stairs, an old habit from childhood that was proving useful these days. "Bailey, honey, don't stress about the job hunt," she was saying. "You need to focus on finding your passion. Vanessa's basically paying for you too." My brother's response was muffled, but I could picture his shrug. That same shrug he gave when I found him using my Netflix account, my Amazon Prime, my everything. The next morning at the bank, Joseph caught me dozing at my desk before opening. "You look like death warmed over," he said, sliding his usual coffee offering across to me. "Thanks, that's exactly the look I was going for." I straightened up, trying to smooth my wrinkled blouse. Had to cover Amanda's closing shift at the restaurant. Again. "You can't keep this up," he said, his voice low. "You're working yourself into the ground." 2 more years, I whispered back. Just 2 more years. The day dragged on until my phone buzzed with a text from my mother. "Dinner's at 6. Don't be late. We need to discuss the utility increase." I texted back that I had to work late. It wasn't even a lie anymore. I always had to work late. "Family dinner is important," came her reply. "Bailey made his special mac and cheese." Bailey's special mac and cheese was boxed Kraft with extra cheese slices. But I knew better than to say that out loud. At home, my father had another envelope waiting. "Utilities went up $40 this month," he announced. "Your share is now $240 instead of $200. I glanced at Bailey's gaming setup in the corner. 3 monitors glowing, his computer humming like a small jet engine. "Is that because—" "Don't start," my mother cut in. "Your brother needs his equipment for his future gaming career." I bit my tongue and ate my mac and cheese. That night, I couldn't sleep. The numbers danced in my head. Rent, utilities, late fees, streaming services I paid for but couldn't use because Bailey was always logged in. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. My secret savings account showed $8,427.13. Not even close to enough. A text from Naomi lit up my screen. "Miss you. Coffee soon." I left it unread. Coffee meant questions. Questions meant lying or telling the truth, and I wasn't ready for either. The next morning I arrived at work to find Joseph looking concerned. "You've got to see this," he said, pulling me aside. He showed me a listing on his phone. A 3-bedroom house, recently foreclosed, selling well below market value. "Why are you showing me this?" "Because," he said, "I've watched you work yourself to death for 6 months. Whatever you're saving for, this could be it. These deals don't come around often." I stared at the listing until the numbers blurred. "It's not enough. I'm not ready." "Maybe not," he agreed. "But now you have a target. A real one." That evening I came home to find Bailey had ordered pizza. Using my card, of course. He was sprawled on the couch, controller in hand, surrounded by empty cans. "Thanks for dinner, sis," he called out as I headed upstairs. I paused on the steps. "Bailey, I need you to stop using my cards." He didn't even look away from his game. "Mum said it was fine." "It's not fine. I can't afford—" "Can't afford what?" My mother appeared in the hallway. "Vanessa, don't be dramatic. Your brother needs support right now. He's networking with other gamers. It's important for his future." I went to my room and pulled out my spreadsheet, added another pizza charge to the growing list. Then I opened the house listing Joseph had shown me and saved it to my favourites. 2 years had felt impossible this morning. But now, looking at that house, something shifted inside me. Maybe I didn't need 2 years. Maybe I just needed the right opportunity. My phone buzzed. Another charge notification from Bailey's gaming purchases. I smiled and added it to my spreadsheet. Every charge, every late fee, every manipulation was just another brick in the wall I was building. The wall I would eventually use to bring their whole system crashing down. Naomi's calls went straight to voicemail these days. My social media stayed dark. I became a ghost in my own life, existing only in the spaces between shifts and sleep. "Table 6 needs their check," my manager called out as I balanced 3 plates of pasta. "On it," I replied automatically, barely registering the words. My feet ached, my head throbbed. But the numbers in my savings account made it worthwhile. Joseph started leaving protein bars on my desk at the bank. "You're skipping meals again," he'd say, not as a question. One particularly exhausting Tuesday, he caught me counting tips in the break room. "I picked up some extra shifts," he said casually, "if you want them." I looked up, suspicious. "Why?" "Because you're about to collapse, and I'd rather help you earn more than watch you work yourself to death." That night, a familiar face appeared at the restaurant. Emma Warner, our neighbour and local real estate agent. She was my mother's friend, but she'd always been kind to me. "Join me for a drink?" she asked after her meal. "You look like you could use one." I glanced at my watch. My shift was over and home was the last place I wanted to be. "Just one," I agreed. At the bar, Emma ordered us both martinis. "I haven't seen you at the neighbourhood barbecues lately." "Working," I said, taking a sip. "Always working." She studied me over her glass. "Your mother mentions you're learning financial responsibility." I nearly choked on my olive. "Is that what she's calling it?" "She says you're paying rent, building credit." Emma's eyes narrowed slightly. "Funny thing about credit, though. I was helping your parents refinance their mortgage last week, but—" She trailed off. "But what?" "They're 5 months behind on payments." Emma swirled her drink. "Which is strange, considering they're collecting rent from you." The room seemed to tilt sideways. 5 months of mortgage payments, 5 months of my $1,200, 5 months of teaching me responsibility. "I shouldn't have said anything," Emma backtracked, noticing my expression. "No," I said quietly. "I'm glad you did." She leaned forward. "Listen, Vanessa, I've been in real estate for 20 years. I've seen every kind of financial situation imaginable, including people who need to buy houses. Quietly." I met her gaze. "What do you mean?" "There are ways to purchase property anonymously, through LLCs, cash deals. It can be done, you just have to be quiet as hell about it." My heart started racing. "Tell me more." "First," she said, pulling out a business card, "you need a separate mailing address, a P.O. box your family doesn't know about." I tucked the card into my pocket just as my phone lit up with a text from my mother. "Where are you? Bailey needs a ride from his friend's house." "I have to go," I said, standing up. Emma grabbed my wrist. "Vanessa, whatever you're planning, be careful, be smart." At home, I found Bailey playing his games. No ride needed. Another manipulation, another control tactic. "You're late," my father called from his study. "That's another $50. I walked to my room without responding. My phone buzzed again. Naomi, trying to reach me for the 3rd time this week. I silently declined the call. The next morning, Joseph found me in the break room, staring at Emma's card. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said. "More like I've seen the truth." I told him about the mortgage payments, about Emma's offer to help. He listened without interrupting, then said, "You know what this means, right? They're not teaching you responsibility. They're using you." "They've always been using me," I replied. "I just didn't want to see it." That evening I opened my laptop and started researching LLCs, property laws, anonymous purchases. Every article, every forum post, every legal document became another piece of ammunition. My mother knocked on my door. "Vanessa, Bailey's internet is acting up again. Can you take a look?" "Can't," I called back, "working on something." "But family helps family," she insisted. I closed my laptop slowly. "Yes," I said, more to myself than to her. "Yes, they do." Later, I lay in bed calculating numbers again. Not just savings this time, but strategies, timelines, escape routes. Emma's card felt like it was burning a hole in my pocket, a key to a door I hadn't known existed. My phone lit up with a text from Joseph. "Whatever you're planning, I've got your back." I smiled in the darkness. The ghost of the dutiful daughter was fading, replaced by something stronger, something colder. My father's voice drifted up from downstairs. "Bailey, don't worry about the internet bill. Your sister has it covered." I added another entry to my spreadsheet, another brick in the wall, another step toward the day when they'd learn what family helps family really means. The house listing Joseph had shown me was still open, still waiting, still possible. I opened Emma's contact and started typing. About that P.O. box. The P.O. box key felt heavy in my pocket as I sat across from Emma in her office, watching her shuffle through paperwork. "Vanquish Properties, LLC," she read from the documents. "Simple, untraceable, and completely legal." She slid them across her desk. "Sign here." My hand shook slightly as I signed. 2 months of secret meetings, careful planning, and calculated moves had led to this moment. "The house you wanted is still available," Emma said, pulling up the listing. "The bank's motivated to sell. With your cash offer, we could close in weeks." I nodded, thinking of my savings account, now healthier than I'd ever dreamed possible. Working doubles for 2 years, living on protein bars and coffee, had paid off. "What about my parents?" I asked. "Won't they find out when the sale records become public?" Emma smiled. "That's why we created the LLC. The public records will only show Vanquish Properties. Unless someone digs very, very deep, they'll never know it's you." Back at home, I found a note on my door. "Rent's late. Again. See me in my study. Dad." I took a deep breath and walked in. My father sat behind his desk, reading glasses perched on his nose, looking every bit the authority figure he pretended to be. "Your hours were cut at work?" he asked without looking up. "Yes," I lied. "The bank is reducing staff." "That's unfortunate," he finally met my eyes. "But rent is still due, plus the late fee." I pulled out an envelope. "Here's half. I'll have the rest next week." "Unacceptable." He pushed the envelope back. "All or nothing, Vanessa. Those are the rules. You have until tomorrow, or you can find somewhere else to live." The threat hung in the air between us. 2 years ago, it would have terrified me. Now, I had to fight back a smile. "I understand," I said quietly. In my room, I began packing, not frantically, but methodically. Each box was labelled and stored in my car during my work shifts. Nobody noticed the gradually emptying closet, the disappearing photos, the bare shelves. Joseph helped me move the bigger items during his lunch breaks. "You're really doing this," he said, carrying a box to his truck. "They gave me no choice," I replied. "Actually, they gave me every choice, and I'm finally making the right one." That night at dinner, my father cleared his throat. 2 days late, Vanessa. I warned you." I reached into my bag and pulled out a document. "I know." I slid it across the table just as he had done with that first invoice. "My notice of intent to vacate," The silence was deafening. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. Bailey actually looked up from his phone. "What is this?" my father demanded, his face reddening. "Exactly what it looks like." I stood up. "I'm leaving." "You can't just—" my mother started. "Actually, I can." I walked to the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Bailey, the internet's going to stop working tomorrow. You'll need to find your own account." My father tore the notice in half. "If you walk out that door, don't expect to come back." I smiled, actually smiled, for the first time in months. "I won't." That night, I moved the last of my boxes into my car. Emma had texted earlier. The closing date was set for next week. Everything was falling into place. The next morning, my mother's texts started flooding in. "This is childish, Vanessa. What about family? Bailey needs his internet for work. Your father is very disappointed." I blocked their numbers one by one. At the bank, Joseph watched me delete their contact information. How does it feel? Like breathing for the first time in years. 2 months passed. I stayed with Joseph's sister while waiting for the closing. My parents' messages came through flying monkeys now. Mutual friends, distant relatives. Even Naomi tried once. Then came the text I'd been waiting for. "Bailey's account bouncing. Vanessa, check the bank." I deleted it without responding. Let them figure it out themselves. That evening, Emma called. "The papers are ready. Tomorrow at 9 a.m. you'll officially own your new home." I hung up and looked around Joseph's sister's guest room, at the boxes ready to move again, this time to my own place. My phone buzzed with another desperate message from my parents. Something about utilities and responsibility. I opened my spreadsheet one last time, the one documenting every payment, every late fee, every manipulation. 2 years of financial abuse, carefully recorded. I attached it to an email addressed to my father's work account, scheduled to send in 1 week. The subject line read, "About those adult responsibilities." My phone lit up again. Bailey, this time. "The internet's gone. Mom and Dad are freaking out. Where are you?" I turned off my phone and looked out the window. Somewhere across town, my family was discovering what life was like without their personal ATM. And tomorrow, I would hold the keys to my own home, bought with the money they thought they'd squeezed from me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just leaving. It's leaving them to face the mess they created. The keys to my new house jingled in my hand as I walked through empty rooms that were all mine. No invoices, no late fees, no guilt trips. "You did it," Emma said, standing in the doorway of what would become my home office. "How does it feel?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. A text from Naomi. "Your mum just called me crying, says they came home and your room was empty. What's going on?" I showed Emma the message. "And so it begins. Are you ready for the fallout?" I nodded, thinking of the carefully organised receipts in my filing cabinet. I've been ready for 2 years. My phone kept lighting up throughout the day. Messages from my mother grew increasingly frantic. "Where are your things? Answer your phone. We need to talk about this like adults. The internet company says the account is closed." I was arranging furniture in my living room when Joseph arrived with housewarming takeout. "Your father came to the bank looking for you," he said, setting down Chinese food containers. "I told him you'd transferred to another branch. How did he look?" "Scared," Joseph handed me chopsticks, like someone who just realised they killed their golden goose. My phone rang. Bailey's number. I let it go to voicemail. "You should hear what he left," Joseph said, pulling out his own phone. He played a message. "Hey, sis, look, whatever's going on, just the Wi-Fi's down and Dad's being weird about money. Can you just come home so we can fix this?" I laughed. Actually laughed. Fix this? They want to fix this. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Naomi shifting nervously on my porch. "How did she find me?" I whispered to Emma. "Small town," Emma shrugged. "Want me to send her away?" I took a deep breath and opened the door. Naomi's eyes were red. "Your mum's hysterical. Your dad's threatening to call the police. What happened?" I let her in, watching her take in my new house with widening eyes. "You bought a house," she gasped. "How?" 2 years of saving every penny while they drained me dry. I showed her my spreadsheet. Every payment, every late fee, every time they used me to keep themselves afloat. Naomi sank onto my new couch. "I knew they were charging you rent, but this is insane." "You knew," my voice cracked. "You knew and never said anything." "I tried." She pulled out her phone, showing me texts from months ago that I'd ignored. "I tried to warn them too. Told them they were pushing you too hard. Your mum said I didn't understand family dynamics." Another text lit up my phone. My father. "The mortgage company called. Where's the rent money going if not to them?" "They're figuring it out," I told the room, that their perfect system relied entirely on me. Emma touched my shoulder. "Want me to start the paperwork for that other thing we discussed?" I nodded, thinking of phase 2 of my plan, the part that would really make them understand. Joseph looked between us. "What other thing?" "Later," I said, as another call from Bailey lit up my phone. Naomi stood to leave. "They're not going to stop, you know. They'll keep coming until they get answers." "I know." I walked her to the door. "But for the first time, I don't have to give them any." After everyone left, I sat in my empty dining room, reading the mounting messages. The power company needs updating. Bailey's account is overdrawn. We're your family. You can't just disappear. I opened my laptop and logged into my bank account. 2 years of transactions, all meticulously documented. 2 years of their financial abuse, recorded in black and white. My phone rang again. My mother's number. This time I answered. "Where are you?" she demanded. "Safe," I replied. "Independent. Everything you claimed you wanted me to be." "This isn't funny, Vanessa. Bailey needs to grow up," I cut in. "And so do you and Dad. We're your parents." "No," I said quietly. "You're my landlords, and I've found better accommodations." I hung up as Emma's email came through. "Papers are ready. Once you sign, the LLC will be positioned to make the offer." I smiled, thinking of the next phase. They thought losing their ATM was bad. Wait until they realised who was about to own their mortgage. My phone lit up one last time. A text from Bailey. "This isn't fair. You're ruining everything." I looked around my beautiful, peaceful home. No invoices on the table. No guilt in the air. No parasitic brother draining my accounts. "No, Bailey," I whispered to my empty house. "I'm fixing everything." I opened Emma's email and began reviewing the documents that would set the next phase in motion. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just escaping the game, it's changing all the rules. The pre-foreclosure notice arrived at my parents' house on a Tuesday. I knew because Emma texted me a photo of my mother collecting the mail, her face draining of colour as she read the envelope. "Are you sure about this?" Emma asked over coffee later that day. "Once we submit the LLC's offer to buy their mortgage, there's no going back." I pulled out my phone and showed her my latest bank notification. Another overdraft attempt from Bailey's gaming account. "They haven't learned," I said. "They're still trying to use my money, even after everything." Joseph joined us, sliding into the booth with a concerned look. "Your father came by the bank again. He's trying to take out a second mortgage." "He won't get it," Emma said. "Their credit is shot. They haven't made a payment in months." My phone buzzed. Naomi. "Your mum's telling everyone you abandoned them, that you left them in financial ruin." I texted back, "Show them the spreadsheet I gave you." 10 minutes later, Naomi replied, "Just did. Your dad went white as a sheet." I smiled and turned to Emma. "Submit the offer." "You know they'll figure it out eventually," she warned, "when the mortgage transfers to vanquished properties." That's the point. Back at my house, I prepared the final piece of my plan. A manila envelope containing every receipt, every late fee notice, every bank statement showing Bailey's charges. At the top, I placed a simple note. Karma doesn't send invoices, it just collects. The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Bailey looking dishevelled. I know you're in there, he called out. My card got declined at GameStop. All my accounts are frozen. I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Sounds like an adult responsibility you need to handle. Very funny. He tried to push past me. Just loan me some money until... Until what? I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Until you find your path? Until your gaming career takes off? Until Mom and Dad finish bleeding me dry? He stepped back, finally seeing me, really seeing me, for the first time in years. They're falling apart, he said quietly. Dad's not sleeping. Mom keeps crying about losing the house. Funny how consequences work, isn't it? My phone buzzed. Emma. Offer accepted. The mortgage is yours. Bailey's phone rang at the same moment. His face fell as he listened. Mum? What? What do you mean foreclosure? I walked back inside, leaving him on my porch. Through the window I watched him pace, arguing into his phone, his perfect world crumbling in real time. Later that evening, Joseph came by with dinner. You okay? I showed him the mortgage transfer papers. I own their house now, through Vanquish Properties. He whistled low. That's something else. What are you going to do? Give them exactly what they gave me, a lesson in adult responsibilities. My phone lit up with a call from my father. This time I answered on speaker. We got a letter, he said, his voice shaking, about the mortgage being transferred to some company called Vanquish Properties. How interesting, I replied calmly. They're talking about reviewing our rental agreement, about market rate adjustments. Sounds like a valuable learning experience. Silence on the line. Then, Vanessa, did I what, Dad? Take control, make a smart financial decision. Isn't that what you wanted to teach me? The line went dead. Joseph stared at me. That was cold. No, I corrected him. Cold is charging your daughter rent while letting your son live free. Cold is adding late fees to teach responsibility while spending that money on yourselves. Cold is what they've been for years. My phone buzzed again, my mother this time. Please, we can't lose the house. We're your family. I typed back. Family helps family, remember? Emma called next. They're at my office demanding information about Vanquish Properties. Your father's connecting the dots. Good, I said. Let them. I pulled out the manila envelope and added one final document, the mortgage transfer papers showing Vanquish Properties as the new owner. Tomorrow I'd have it delivered to their house. My phone kept lighting up. We need to talk, Dad. Please call us, Mom. What did you do? Bailey. I silenced my phone and walked through my peaceful house. No guilt, no manipulation, no invoices sliding across dinner tables. Joseph watched me from the kitchen. You know this won't end here. No, I agreed. This is just the beginning. I picked up my phone and drafted one final text to my family's group chat. Rent's due on the 1st, late fees apply, welcome to adult responsibilities. Then I blocked their numbers again and opened my laptop to draft their first official notice from their new mortgage holder, Vanquish Properties LLC. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning the game, it's becoming the game master. The pounding on my front door started at 8 a.m. on a Sunday. I'd been expecting them. Emma had texted that my parents were asking around about my new address. Vanessa! My father's voice boomed through the door. Open up right now. I took my time walking to the entrance, coffee cup in hand. Through the peephole I saw all three of them, my father red-faced, my mother wringing her hands, and Bailey clutching a duffel bag. I opened the door but stayed behind the security chain. Can I help you? This has gone far enough, my father growled. We know about Vanquish Properties. Congratulations. My mother pushed forward. Sweetie, we need to talk about this like family. Bailey needs a place to stay temporarily, just until things settle down. I looked at Bailey's duffel bag, then back at them. Oh, you need housing. I have a pull-out couch in the garage. $1,200 a month. Late fees apply. The colour drained from my father's face as his own words came back to haunt him. You can't be serious, Bailey sputtered. Why not? It's how the real world works, remember? My mother started crying, her go-to manipulation tactic. We're your family. Funny, I said, pulling out my phone. I have some texts here about family. Let me read them. Bailey needs support right now. Family helps family. Don't be selfish, Vanessa. I looked up. Sound familiar? That was different, my father started. You're right. It was different because I actually paid my bills. I have proof of every payment, every late fee, every utility charge. I pulled out the manila envelope and dropped it at their feet. 2 years of financial records. Want to go through them together? Bailey picked up the envelope, his hands shaking as he opened it. What is all this? Everything, I said. Every receipt, every bank statement, every time they used my rent money to pay their mortgage instead of teaching me responsibility. My father lunged forward, but the security chain held. You had no right. I had every right. My voice finally cracked. You charged me more than market rate to live in my childhood bedroom while letting Bailey live free. You added late fees to teach me lessons while spending my money on yourselves. You pushed me to work 2 jobs while telling Bailey to find his path. My mother grabbed the envelope from Bailey. We were trying to help you grow up. No, I said quietly. You were using me as your personal ATM. And now? I pulled out the final document, the property deed showing Vanquished Properties as the owner of their house. Now you get to learn what that feels like. My father collapsed into one of my porch chairs, the reality finally hitting him. You own our house. Technically, Vanquish Properties owns your house, and Vanquish Properties expects payment on the 1st of each month. Market rate, of course. Bailey stepped forward. You can't do this to us. We're your family, I cut him off. Then act like it. Get a job. Pay your bills. Take responsibility for once in your life. Please, my mother whispered. We'll lose everything. Like I almost did. Working doubles until I couldn't see straight. Skipping meals to make rent. Watching my savings disappear into Bailey's gaming accounts. My father stood up slowly, his face ashen. What do you want from us? I want you to understand, I said, finally opening the door fully. Every receipt in that envelope is a lesson you taught me. Every late fee is a consequence you created. Every bank statement is proof of how you treated your own daughter. They stood in silence, the manila envelope's contents scattered at their feet like evidence at a crime scene. You have 30 days, I continued. Find another place to live or start paying market rate rent to Vanquish Properties. Your choice. And Bailey, my mother asked weakly. I looked at my brother, really looked at him, the entitled boy who had never faced consequences now clutching his duffel bag like a shield. The garage couch is available, I repeated. $1,200 a month, no exceptions, no excuses, no family discounts, just like you taught me. My father gathered the scattered papers with trembling hands. This isn't over. You're right, I agreed. This is just the beginning of your adult responsibilities. They left slowly, defeated, my mother still crying, Bailey looking lost, my father clutching the envelope like it might somehow change its contents. I watched them drive away, then called Emma. They came. How did it go? Exactly as expected. I looked at the security camera footage on my phone, already saving the confrontation for my records. They wanted Bailey to move in. Emma laughed. Of course they did. What now? I smiled, thinking of the market rate notices already drafted on my laptop. Now they learn what it's like on the other side of the invoice. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just winning. It's making them live through exactly what they put you through. The for sale sign went up in front of my parents' house on a crisp autumn morning. Emma handled the listing herself, making sure every detail was perfect. 3 showings already scheduled, she said, adjusting the sign. Your parents? Moving into an apartment across town, I replied. Bailey's actually getting a job to help with rent. My phone buzzed. Naomi asking to meet for coffee. I found her at our old favourite cafe, fidgeting with her cup. I owe you an apology, she said as I sat down. I knew what they were doing to you, and I didn't do enough. You tried to warn me, I reminded her. I wasn't ready to listen. Still, she reached across the table. I should have done more, been a better friend. Joseph joined us, sliding into the booth with a folder. Speaking of doing more, I have something to show you. He opened the folder to reveal business loan paperwork. Remember that art studio idea you mentioned? The one you gave up to pay their rent? My heart skipped. Joseph, the bank approved your application. With your credit history and the LLC's assets, you're the perfect candidate. Naomi's eyes widened. You're opening a studio. Maybe, I said, looking at the papers. I haven't painted in so long. 2 years, Joseph said quietly. But I've seen your sketches during lunch breaks. You never stop dreaming. You just put it on hold. My phone lit up with a text from Bailey. Got the job, starting Monday. For the first time, I felt something other than anger toward my brother. Maybe it was hope. He's trying, Naomi observed, reading over my shoulder. They all are, I agreed. Finally, back at home, I unlocked the door to my spare room, the one I'd been keeping empty. Art supplies still in their packages lined the walls. A blank canvas waited on an easel. The doorbell rang. My mother stood there, looking smaller somehow. The apartment's nice, she said before I could speak. Small, but we're managing. Your father's looking for work. I waited. I found this. She held out a framed picture. Me at my high school art show, holding a blue ribbon. I thought maybe you'd want it back. I took the frame, remembering that day. Before the invoices, before the manipulation, before everything went wrong. We were wrong, she whispered. So wrong. And I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix it. I know. She turned to leave, then stopped. Bailey told me about his job. Said he's starting to understand what you went through. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. We're learning, she added. Too late, but we're learning. After she left, I carried the frame into my empty art room, set it on the shelf, opened my first pack of brushes. Emma called as I was mixing colours. Offer on the house, above asking price. Accept it, I said immediately. Your parents? They need to start fresh. So do I. I dipped my brush in paint for the first time in 2 years. The canvas waited, blank and full of possibility. Joseph texted, Studio loan paperwork is ready when you are. Naomi sent a photo of a coming soon sign template. Vanessa's art studio, where creativity meets freedom. My phone buzzed one last time. Bailey. I get it now. What we did to you. What I did. I'm sorry. I set my phone down and looked at my reflection in the window. No more exhausted bank teller. No more overworked waitress. Just me, a paintbrush, and a future I'd bought back with my own strength. The doorbell rang again. Emma stood there with Joseph and Naomi. We brought housewarming gifts, Naomi said, holding up paint supplies. Again, I laughed. I already had a housewarming. This isn't for your house, Joseph said. This is for your studio. They followed me to the art room, where the blank canvas still waited. What will you paint first? Emma asked. I looked at the high school photo my mother had returned. At the girl who loved art before life got in the way. At the woman I'd become while fighting my way back to her. Something new, I said, lifting my brush. Something free. My phone lit up one final time, a message from my father. The apartment lease is in my name. No more hiding behind others. No more excuses. I turned off my phone and faced my canvas. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about getting free. Free to create. Free to dream. Free to become who you were always meant to be. The brush touched canvas, and I began to paint my future, not in their colours, but in my own.